Hey YouTube, what's going on? I was supposed to do this vlog yesterday. I mentioned in my previous vlog that I was going to make a vlog on Saturday and let you guys know about the Varicam. Well, I had a pretty stressful weekend. My rabbit Binks, who is our all black rabbit, he went into GI stasis, which I guess I'll give you the cliff notes on it for those of you that don't know what that is. Because not many people have rabbits as pets, I don't think, especially in America. But rabbits, when they stop eating or if they don't feel good, they cannot pass gas the way that we can. You know what we're really good at, and they also can't burp or throw up. So what happens is when their GI tract stops moving, or if something malfunctions, I guess, gas will start accumulating in their stomach, and it can lead to organ failure, and it can kill them within like very fast, like a day or two, in very serious cases. And Binks was headed that direction. He went into GI stasis on Friday. We took him to an ER on Friday, and they gave him some pain meds and sent me home. They gave him pain meds, and they gave him fluids, like sub-Q fluids, IV fluids. And then yesterday morning, I woke up where he was just deteriorating, and his stomach was larger than a basketball. And so I rushed him to an exotics vet that's like just specializes in animals like rabbits and hamsters and iguanas and like exotic pets. And within 45 minutes, they completely reverted his illness, and they sedated him and put a tube down his throat, and they decompressed his stomach, got all the gas out, all the crap, and he's 100% now. It's like nothing ever happened. So, but it was just a really stressful, emotional, like 48 hours between Friday and Saturday. So that is why this vlog is coming to you late. Not that it really matters, but I guess that's just another life update I wanted to share with you guys on that. But Binks is fine. Everything's good now. So hopefully it continues that way. On with the Varicam. So, obviously, matte box is different, monitor is different, so let's talk about it. As you can see, I went back to the Shape matte box. This is honestly one of the best matte boxes, I think, next to the Aeroflex, which I just had, and I got rid of only due to a weight issue. That's why I got rid of the Aeroflex. There was nothing wrong with the Aeroflex, but a studio matte box, most studio matte boxes, especially in Aeroflex's catalog, can add anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds of extra weight to your rig. And, you know, when I had the Red Dragon, that extra 5 or 10 pounds, it really wasn't that big of a deal because the Red Dragon at base is much lighter than the Varicam is. But starting at 11 pounds, which is what the Varicam body is, having an additional 5 pounds on the front end, it doesn't make the camera as portable as it could be. And so went back to the Shape. I had this matte box for forever, and it's amazing. I can't recommend this matte box enough. It's kind of weird that the hood is made of silicone, but you know, whatever. But it's a great matte box, and I actually bought the version that you can mount to rails, but my rig sits too low, so I actually had to just use it as a clip-on matte box. And hopefully down the road I can find something that can allow me to use the rail function. But so that's the matte box. It basically weighs nothing, so that's awesome. And then up on top there is a little 5-inch monitor. It is the Blackmagic, the original Blackmagic design video assist. Very interesting thing about that monitor is I used to own that monitor as well a few years back when I was still living in Chicago, and I was actually using the tape Varicam, the 27H. When I had that camera, I had that monitor, and when I had it originally and when I have it now, I've never used that thing as a recorder, even though it has the capability of recording 1080p ProRes out of the SDI or HDMI signal that you give it. I've always just used it as a monitor. I think for the price, it's one of the best monitors in its kind of price bracket. And I already knew the experience that I had with it previously, and it's cheaper now than when it originally first came out. So I'm like, it's a win-win in my book, and it's like one of the only devices that Blackmagic made that I actually really like a lot. I'm not a huge Blackmagic design fan, but do love that monitor. So that that is the update on the Varicam, and obviously I've done more tests. I've worked with the lens a little more. I will say right now that I've shot enough with this camera lens combination that anybody looking to invest in the kind of third-party modification, cinema modification of the Sigma 18-35 from the Cinematics company, or PC Hood, or whatever the fuck they call themselves, definitely worth the money. And I think you'd be saving a lot of money instead of going to the actual Sigma Cine version, because there's a huge price gap between the two models. This is fantastic. I don't have anything bad to say about this lens at all. I mean, it's still just as sharp wide open as the photography stock version of the lens. You just get added all of the extra kind of cinema features and the build quality of a cinema lens. So, I mean, there's honestly nothing bad that I can say about it whatsoever. So, overall though, even though I haven't given you guys a whole lot of footage from the Varicam. I know there was like some shots out of my bedroom window of the snow, and like I was doing some low light stuff. I think I did that last week. I've shot an unbelievably large number of tests with this thing that I just, I'll shoot some stuff, or I'll do some like technical stuff and test like ISO values and color and the different resolutions. I did share like one of my really crude, extremely non-scientific tests with you guys of all the different codecs that the Varicam can shoot, and I was on the way of believing that, okay, maybe this camera is actually the best at 2K on the highest ProRes codec, and continued to do my tests and realize that no, internally with this recorder block that comes with the 35, hands down the best codec available in the camera is the 4K ABC Intra 444. The only setback, technically, at least setback to me, that the 444 codec doesn't allow you to do is variable frame rate. You're kind of stuck at the base frame rate of the camera. You can't do any variable frame rates of any kind at the ABC Intra 444. You have to go down to 422. Now, in the world of the internet, in the world of YouTube, not many people are going to discern the difference between the 12-bit 444 and the 422 codec that sits right underneath it. So that's not a big deal, but really loving this camera. I would be very controversial probably to say that the color science in this camera rivals the Alexa, at least the original Alexa. I'm not talking about the Alexa 35 that just came out a little while ago. Just like the original Alexa line, I honestly am liking the color science in this thing better than the Alexa. I'm liking the skin tones in this camera better than the Alexa. Overall, in my humble opinion, in a lot of ways, except maybe the resolution bracket, I have to say this is probably the best camera that I've ever owned. I really, every time that I power it up and every time that I go out and shoot with it, I'm really enjoying what I'm getting and the tool set that's available. And there's so many features in this camera that I have yet to even touch. Like there's this dual recording thing where you can shoot 4K and 2K at the same time. It's like, obviously those are features that I personally don't really need. Maybe down the line, if I have a freelance gig that I want to do, that might come into play in some weird way. But considering all modern day computers, especially Apple computers, can run the 4K Intra codecs natively in real time in DaVinci and Final Cut, there's no real reason to do the 4K 2K. I can understand when this camera first came out and we didn't have the computing power that we have today. Granted, this camera's not extremely old, like it's almost 10 years old. It's like 7 or 8 years old, but even 7 or 8 years ago, it would have made more sense to have 4K and then edit 2K or even proxy files and then finalize your edit with the 4K files. So I understand that, but obviously the other thing that I mentioned in the vlog, I just realized this as I'm talking to you guys, that I mentioned that obviously didn't happen, was I was looking at turning the Varicam into the Varicam Pure system. And Thursday night, I was really just kind of racking my brain, and I couldn't justify the cost of what the recorder was going to be. Now the recorder package was coming with a 2 terabyte drive for the codec system, which, you know, is, I guess, a little cushion to the fucking bloat. I mean, anything with Codex's name on it is ridiculously expensive. Even on the used market, it's just like outlandishly expensive. But what really killed it for me was that the the driver, the like dock, the card reader for my Mac, where you would take the, you know, Codex drive out of the camera and then put it into your Mac to ingest the footage, that device on the used market was over $2,000. And that's when I started, I like looked at everything as a whole, and I'm like, I can't justify spending almost $4,000 to do, like, it's just not in my wheelhouse. It's not in my thing. So I just decided against it. And I'm like, maybe down the road, if I still have the Varicam and those things on the used market drop in price, even though that Codex recorder is becoming more and more of a unicorn. So who knows if I'll happen across it again, and even that at like a lower price to boot. So, and I really was just like, I was thinking about it. I'm just like, you know, it's one thing to work with compressed RAW, you know, especially even in the world of like what I do online here with my YouTube channel and my personal work. Like when I was working with the Red cameras, the Red codec is very robust. It's not that big, but the codec system to turn this into the Varicam Pure model, that's uncompressed RAW. And I believe a terabyte of space equals an hour of video. So that's, the files are massive. And so just going down the whole pipeline, it's like, yeah, if I was Paramount Pictures, I could justify that, but I'm not. And it's not like the top codec in this camera is any slouch. So I just looked at the cost, and I looked at everything, and I'm like, this is fucking stupid. And so I just decided not to do it. So, but yeah, so this is the rig. And it's a lot more compact compared to what I had with the Jupiter Zoom and the Airflex matte box and you know, the larger monitor and everything. Everything is a lot smaller now. So that's it. But I think the only other things, I guess, to note, since I've used the camera more, is and I know this, I mean, this camera invented that technology, and obviously other camera manufacturers like Sony and whatnot have put that technology in their cameras. And it's more commonplace now than when this model of the Varicam first came out. But the native, like second ISO of 5,000, oh my God. I've never seen anything like that. I think that's one of the biggest magic tricks of this system, is that the dual native ISO in it is such a fucking game changer. You know, it's insane, especially when you have a lens that's like T1.8 on there, and you combine that. I saw that. The interesting thing with the dual native ISO that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about is that both of this camera's native ISO, the image is clean as long as you don't go 2 levels above its native. If you stay at the native or below, you're clean. So if I were to set this at 5,000 and then crank it down to 2,500, the light sensitivity is insane, and there is no noise. There is no gain noise, no nothing. It's, I mean, insane, you know? I mean, like, again, this is low light. The camera's getting better at low light is more commonplace nowadays. But for me, you know, obviously I'm Mr. Old School, and this is the first time that I've had a camera where I really have like the top end version of that type of technology, and it's incredible. I mean, the little piece that I did, was it last week? I don't remember what I named it, but it was just like some shots out of my window at night and seeing the snow and like person walking their dog. That was all shot at 5,000. So, you know, and obviously I added film grain to that image. I mean, I graded it accordingly to how I, you know, like to make things look. But yeah, so I mean, at some point I'm gonna try to figure out something entertaining to do that will really showcase the like clean image of 5,000, and it's so much cleaner than what you would expect 5,000 to look like. So I'm overall I'm really impressed with this Varicam, and I think especially for what this model and the smaller version of this, the Varicam LT, what they're going for in the used market it's a steal. And I've owned an Alexa, I've owned I've owned many Reds. You know, most of you that have subscribed to me for a long time know that I've owned my share of cameras. I actually went through my list recently, and I've owned over 100 different camera models since 1999. I don't think you can get any more nerd than that. But without question, you know, Panasonic definitely knocked it out of the park with this thing. And it's kind of a bummer what happened to the line. I think it was just a matter of, this is just my opinion, I think it was poor marketing on Panasonic's part, and I think that they just waited too long to release the camera. I think with Red and Aeroflex already having such a tight hold on the cinema industry, by the time this camera came out, it was overlooked. And then the Venice came out and did a lot of things that I feel Panasonic should have done, which was, you know, they went into the full frame market and they did all these other, you know, different things. And so the Venice took a lot of business from the Varicam, and then the Varicam ultimately failed. But that does not mean that this camera is a pile of junk. Honest to God, I'm telling you right now from my personal experience, this camera rivals any Red that I've ever used. It rivals the Alexa Classic that I had. It in color space, you know, skin tones, everything. I mean, the image off of this camera is unbelievably beautiful, and it's some of the most like right out of the gate filmic looking shit that I've ever been able to get. It sits right up there in some of my top cameras, like the Canon XL2 and stuff like that. So yeah, I can't say anything better. I mean, the camera's fantastic, and I'm really enjoying my time with it. And that is all I have for you guys. So new matte box, new monitor, and I guess when I have something else interesting to share, I will vlog again. So you guys have a good week. Stay safe. Stay happy. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Alrighty.